So I could do the boat deck at the Monkey Island today because the weather's improved drastically. It's sunny, well, it's a bit cloudy, but it's a lot drier than it was. I came out here on the last video and slipped unceremoniously on this wooden decking here, but we can see a little bit more today because it's a lot drier, it's a lot more pleasant. This is the boat deck, called the boat deck because the lifeboats are here, or one of them anyway. That one remains. That one was the one that was destroyed in the collision I mentioned in the other video. We'll have a proper look at that in a second. Up here you've got things like the derricks that would have been used for loading cargo aboard, and the funnel up there on the Monkey Island. We'll go up there in a sec. This hatch is above the main engine room. These do still open, it emits air into the engine room, a bit of light as well to keep the air fresh. Closed at the minute because it's cold, but yeah, they do get opened. The solar panels are there to keep a battery topped up with a bilge monitoring system. What happens if the boat starts flooding and there's nobody here? It's a tractor, noisy. It's a working port, so there's cars and trucks coming and going, and there's ships everywhere, so it does get noisy in here. If the ship starts to flood when there's nobody here, the bilge monitoring system texts a number of the volunteers and says, hey look, your boat's sinking, get down and turn some pumps on. So that's what they're for. They were added, one was added last year and one was added the year before, I think. So they're fairly recent additions, but that's what they're for. Lots of cables and stays and all the rest of it, so you've got to be careful moving about because a lot of these things are at head height, face height. You walk in from this convoy over there. A lot of the vents are covered over because the covers keep wildlife and the rain out. So much going on here at the moment. On a working ship they'd be uncovered, but at the moment they go into compartments that aren't used, so it's better to keep them covered so wildlife doesn't get in and cause damage, and rain that causes a lot of damage. We'll sneak through here. That hatch is above the crew mess. That doesn't open, hasn't opened in a long time, but that's a hatch. One of the lifeboats. This one isn't motorised. It's a crying shame what condition that that's in. Have a quick look in there. Hasn't moved in 30 years, that davit hasn't. It's not even attached to the falls, so don't move it. More vents. Gas rack for the galley, the stove in the galley. This would be full of gas canisters. It's not now because all the equipment's out of service. The second davit, the portside davit. So during the collision that I mentioned on the last video, where the Boa Escort came in and hit us just here, destroyed the deck here to remove this lifeboat. Now this lifeboat was motorised, and what Explorer would often do is she'd anchor in or just out of a harbour, and the engineer would lower the motorised lifeboat and take crew ashore, or do the store runs or whatever they needed to do. So it's used as an auxiliary vessel as well as a lifeboat. Unfortunately in the collision it was destroyed and just long gone. Maybe one day it'd be nice to put a new one back up there, but that's way down on the list of priorities. Right up at the stern end of the ship now, and more sign of the condition that she's in. The floor's crunchy, the deck's crunchy, and there's pigeon poop everywhere. There's cars flying about. When she was scrapped the second time, the scrapmen had started cutting, and they cut this A-frame off. It should have been a big gallows right here. But that was cut off, and when the Preservation Society bought her from the scrapyard, the scrapmen were cutting, so she literally got saved at the 11th hour. They'd only managed to cut this off, so she was very lucky in that way. People bring things down that aren't maybe what we need. This is just a canister for a lifeboat that got abandoned here a long time ago. There's nothing in here, it's just a canister. And she never had this type of lifeboats when she was in service. Somebody with the best of intentions has brought that down, but it gets used as a dumping ground, unfortunately. This stern winch here was for pulling nets out through the stern A-frame. It could also be used for towing, and to my knowledge it was used at least once to tow a stricken vessel. One mooring gear, the bollards, the leads go out through the fair leads and go to a bollard there. We'll go a bit further forward. There's another volunteer wandering about. I'll try and not get him on. He's disappearing down the ladder. So, the boat deck. We try our best to keep the rust away and the weather out, but it is an uphill struggle. There are 6, maybe 7 of us that appear every Tuesday and every Saturday. It's Tuesday today, at the end of January. The derricks. And she had a sickbay aboard, which is in here, and this is not in a great state of repair. Shall we see if we can turn the light on? There you go, the lights on. Walking in here into the sickbay. Sickbay. So this would have had 2 beds in here, and it's fully equipped with a core buzzer through into the bridge. There it is there, look on that wall there. That'll ring an alarm on the bridge if you're in here. Not very well. Windows in here are smashed, as with most of the windows aboard, they're all smashed. This is for storage at the moment. I think we can open these cupboards, and I think there's stuff in here. I don't come in this room very often, so I don't know entirely what's in here, but it is a mess. Yeah, medical supplies. I wouldn't like to use any of that stuff, but there are some medical supplies in here. As far as we know, this room was never used, in anger. She never had any injuries that put her out of work for any extended period of time, so this room didn't get used all that much. It's used for storage at the moment, which is a crying shame, because this is quite an interesting room. When we get further along with the restoration, maybe we can do a little bit more in here. Let's head back out. So the superstructure up here, the top deck, is aluminium on a ship that was built in the 50s. Right, try to quickly catch up with one of the volunteers. So aluminium superstructure, which in the ship from the 50s was unusual. And the reason she had the aluminium superstructure was because it kept the weight down low, and there's a funnel up there with the exhaust for the generator. It kept the weight down low, it helped keep the weight down low, and when she was out in icy water, so she was icing up a lot, it helped, and it gave her more wiggle room, I suppose. So many things are at head height here, including this derrick that is literally at head height. So we'll climb up this ladder now. It's a bit of a gymnastic act getting up here because of how close the derrick is to the ladder, but I will pause, we'll climb up, and I'll resume. Resuming. Right, let's look down over the boat deck. The ladder I've just climbed up the main mast. There's the funnel. Also aluminium. I'll step back a little bit. Capped off because none of the original engines work. The only engine that runs is a generator. I'll show you the exhaust pipe for that in a second. Air intakes. These go down into the bowels of the ship, but it was to take air into the boiler, into spaces. It's not needed at the moment, so we block it off to stop the pigeons moving in, because they would if we let them. There's the other air intake for the engine room, but again covered up to keep the wildlife out. And just around the back here, that's where the generator exhausts. There's only one generator running at the moment. There are a total of 4 generators aboard. Only one runs through that exhaust pipe, so that's what we run. Up here at the end of last year, there was a tent covering this whole area, but storms came through and damaged it, so we had to take it down, otherwise it ended up wrapped around somebody else's mast. So we took it down, and the deck had all these patches put in place, bonded and riveted down, and then a few coats of rubberized paint went down to try and keep some leaks out, and it's got about 90% of them. It still leaks through in a couple of places, but for the most part we're on top of that. These boxes cover holes that would have been a compass here with a binnacle down into the wheelhouse. I touched on that in the last video. I was looking out over the bow and up the foremast. It's quite a good view up here, and it would have been spectacular when she was at sea. The modern research vessel's still there, the OSVs are still there. That is an old coal loader doohickey. That's probably Victorian. It's the only original building still in place, as well as the pump house there and the dry dock, both of which unfortunately are out of commission at the moment. everything gets done in the dry dock over that way. And we can also see up here the Fingal. Where is she? There she is, the Fingal. So she was a lighthouse vessel when she was at work, and she'd take supplies and crew and all sorts around all the lighthouses around Scotland. She got retired and turned into a 5-star hotel. So if they can do that to a greasy old workboat like that, who knows, with the right funding we might get something, something nice done for us as well. There's a couple of ships that are in harbour at the moment. They are setting up to start building a wind farm off the coast of Edinburgh shortly, so a lot of these vessels, a lot of the work is for that. It's a very busy harbour. The outer harbour is very busy. This inner harbour doesn't get busy at all. That bridge rarely lifts. The only time vessels come and go is when they're on long-term layup. This closest OSV, wherever it is, there it is. That's been here for weeks. Probably November it arrived, maybe even earlier than that. Same with the research vessel over there. This would have been the radar mast. There would have been radar up here. Whoop. Also taken, a lot of things got taken down when the tent went up, just so we could put the tent up. And there was also another mast right forward here for navigation lights, and everything's down there on the quayside. I think that's about it. It's a much shorter video than last time, but these are some of the bits that I missed off, so I wanted to show them a bit more. There's our noble engineer Colin arriving. I'm not pointing the camera in his face too much. But that's it, I think, for now. That is it for now, I do think. As I mentioned in the last video, we do take tours, we take people around. 1 second, I need to pause. I just got stopped by one of our volunteers who's just informed me that in March we've got a tour of 12 people coming down, and I love giving the tours when people come down, so that'll be quite interesting. Looking forward to that. Like I said, we do take tours. You have to book in either by, you can leave a comment to get in touch, or you can visit any of the websites in the link, or the Facebook page in the links in the description, sorry, and they'll get you where you need to go. And even if you felt inclined to leave a donation, there's an option for that as well. But I think that's it for now. It's a much shorter video than the last one. We'll finish with a nice view over Leith Harbour, the sun shining. Sunshine on Leith, I'm sure that's a song or something. Thanks for watching.